for Dayton Independent Schools. And over the time, we've become friends and also, kind of workers, even though we don't work for the same company, we work for the same cause. Jay's an avid runner, and we'd see Jay running around town. He'd be picking up trash on sidewalks. And that's the kind of dedication this guy gives to our city, much less our kids. So we were lucky to have him, run our district for the last 12 years. He's overseen many students, whatever the kids were looking to do, whether they're looking to attend NKU early, he made sure those programs were available so they could go and get early college education credits and get out soon, saving them thousands of dollars and getting them ready for the workforce, whether they were going into vocationals. He helped with that. He helped move the kids through the program out in Houston and gave us a Dayton presence out there. And he has grown our overall ranking. I know this is a different ranking. It's kind of changed over the years, but let's just use old numbers. From 171st, which is out of 173, two above the worst, to 70th. So how impressive is that? Jay's tagline to every email, to every text message, to every conversation was "Together we grow." So when I first assumed the role as mayor, Jay made it clear that he wanted the school to work as a team with the city, and I agreed. We fail together, and more importantly, we succeed together. We are a partner. And I told him one day I was having a rough day because I was trying to figure out if you don't understand the role of mayor, you do all these different things. And I was like, I was talking to Jay, like, Jay, I'm having a bad day. I don't understand tax incentive funding and how that works with I went to school for IT. I didn't go to school for this. And he said, I went to school to teach kids to read, not for real estate development. And it's not he wasn't trained to figure out brokering land deals, but he did. He figured it out as he went, and now together we have this wonderful one campus that's about to happen between the two campuses. So we are so lucky to have had him over these past 12 years, and together we've kind of figured this out. And Jay, I couldn't appreciate you any more. So if you wouldn't mind coming up here, man. I'll come around the circle, come and show you, man. So I'm honored to present to you the key to the city today.
Never had a key to the city.
Well, good. You only need one. It's Dave. Together we improve. Yeah. I really appreciate you as a friend and also as an ambassador.
Oh, you'll still see me running, not running.
I do want to thank
Tired. Long time ago, but it seems like just yesterday. Tumbled in town.
now.
Got
Together at Montford City, last work.
Never give yourself the option to start.
I had wonderful support by the council, the mayor. Project. Pictures of
Justice. Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
Yeah, like graduation.
How many kids graduated this year, Jay?
65.
That's awesome.
And these seniors started 80 years
So
ago.
we really want our birthday. That's it. We have a bunch of kids now. Kids about 700.
Wow.
That's not count other kids that they play back, right? Back.
Another thing I forgot to mention. If you ever hang out with Jay at the elementary school or the high school, he knows every single kid by first name, and they know him by first name. I mean, it's just such a great relationship you've had with these kids over 12 years, and we were so lucky to have had them.
A great kid. I'm telling you, you got a great guy coming in, great quality. Right. Right. Great. Best to everybody, I won't be spending record data that right now. I know, especially if you get that sidewalk going up, big height.
We will. We're working on it, man.
That really gonna have you down there a lot.
Happy retirement. What a great crew we got there. The next on my mayor's report for this month would be the Memorial Day Parade. So that's coming up on Monday, it's just a few short days away. And we have been busy. Councilman Neary has been pressure washing a lot. Thanks for dressing up tonight and taking off your muddy clothes and making the monument look fantastic. You know, Jared has put together a great program with the Veterans Committee. So we have all these wonderful new veteran pictures on our light posts going throughout the city. We've had our Civic Club planting flowers. We've had Public Works making sure that the avenue is going to be spick and span as they always do. And I just wanted to give a big thanks to everybody and welcome everybody down to Dayton for the Memorial Day Parade on Monday. And looking forward to seeing everybody out. Other than that, that is my mayor's report for the month.
What time does the parade start?
That's a great question. It just seems like it's an all-day thing.
The ceremony starts at 10 at the monument. The
Right.
parade starts at 10:30.
So yeah, so 10 o'clock we'll be doing our remarks at the monument. And at 10:30 we start walking the hot walk.
Yep.
Next on the agenda will be the approval of minutes. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve the minutes from last month?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Made a motion. Member Neer's made a second. Do we have any abstentions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? So moves. Now I'd like to open up the podium, which is really close to us, to the audience for any upcoming legislation for the agenda tonight. So this is just things that are on the agenda. If you have something regarding later issues, you'll have that opportunity later.
I know we have some people talking about the 10th Avenue parking issue, but
That's not on the agenda for the evening.
right now,
That's under-
after we get done with the 3/4, we'll hear.
That's under new business towards the end of the meeting. Yeah. All right, we'll go ahead and close that out. Moving right along to ordinances. This is the second reading of ordinance 2024-5. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance amending sections 96.15, 96.16, 96.17, 96.18, 96.19, and 96.99 of Title IX General Regulations of the City of Dayton Code of Ordinances dealing with sidewalk maintenance in the city, including enforcement provisions and penalties for failure to maintain sidewalks.
And this is the ordinance we talked about last meeting, that is updating our sidewalk ordinance, addressing issues, sidewalks, curbs, whose responsibility is to do what. In addition to this, there will be a order resolution that actually spells out in more detail the sidewalk maintenance policy, which will load in when we get to order resolution.
Do we have any questions or comments regarding, or does anybody like to accept 2024 number 5?
Make a motion to accept ordinance 2024, number 5.
Member Volters made the first. Do we have a second?
Second.
Member Neiman's made a second, which opens us up for comments. Do we have any comments regarding 2024-5?
I have comments.
Yes, ma'am.
So should I read the whole thing again or just comment on?
I would just comment. I mean, you can read it all again.
I am concerned with how steep these fines are. And
Okay.
I think they're unclear as to who would get these fines under what exact circumstances. It said, I just wrote some questions. Do the fines seem a little steep? There's one, it starts with not less than 100 and up to 5,000 per offense.
That's our standard fine schedule for any code enforcement violation.
It seems like this is this is weeds, or it's holes, or it's cracks, or there's no, you don't list what the offenses are, so it's just sort of like an offense, and I think it should be much more, when you're talking about that kind of money, that sounds like you could lose a house kind of money. And I think it should be very specific on what the offenses are, the days, and when you would stop fining. So I'll just read
Okay,
this.
let me address real quick on that. So the normal process is that we don't issue a citation right away. There'll be a notice that
Mhm.
says you need to prepare these sidewalks. And we'll give you a certain period of time to do that, or show us that you're taking action to do that. If that doesn't work, then they will issue a citation like they do any other code enforcement issue.
But like that isn't spelled out. You will receive this citation on this date. If you have not received, if you have not contacted us after X number of days, like it's not spelled out exactly. How are you going to get yourself in trouble here?
Well, I mean, we don't spell out all those details. We don't spell it out when we have code enforcement issues, but we generally give notice first, and then we cite them if they don't contact us or take action. By the way, we understand that some people can't afford to do this, so it's the budget. In the budget process, we're actually putting aside money to allow people who own property and have qualified because of low income to get a grant from the city to help them do that. So we have a cost sharing program to help with that. So that's part of this. We're not going to enforce this until we have that in place. That helps, but go ahead. What was the next question?
Okay. I mean, even if you're not low income, this could really add up. You might be strapped, even though you're not exactly low income, and then you get hit with
We understand.
these compounding fees, especially on separate violations, and it seems to be, so I'll just read some of, as I kept reading the ordinance, all right, so do the fines seem a little steep? Who decides how the fines are assessed? $500 a day? Is this fine enforced after I have ignored the first citation? If I'm waiting for a contractor, are the days suspended?
Yes.
How do you just wait?
Yes, so it's $100 a day
Mhm.
until a certain period of time, 30 days, if you're not doing anything, then it bumps up.
That's
So
not spelled out.
it is when you get the citation. It's all in the citation.
Okay.
It's all spelled out and tells how to, you can appeal that to the code enforcement board if you disagree with it. And our experience with Cassie and our team is that she works with people. If you say you're in the process
I know,
of doing
that's because
it,
she's great.
yeah,
But this is on the books and it's not, this is only all legal if Cassie's still working here.
this is Cassie, this is just consistent with what we do for all our code enforcement
Mhm.
issues. It's the same fines. If you want to reduce some fines, you can do that. That's up to this council. But we're trying to be consistent, and, this isn't just property owners. There's landlords out there too that have horrible sidewalks that
I
their
know.
tenants have to use, and they're making money on these properties and they're not maintaining their properties.
Mm-hmm.
So,
For a contractor, are the days suspended?
Yes.
when do you decide, or what is this? How do you decide to fine people or a property owner? Is it after they've been given a warning and they've ignored it? That is not stated clearly in this ordinance. Why are these fines so high for sidewalks and weeds? This seems extreme, and it seems like someone could lose their house this way. It doesn't seem neighborly. Each day is a separate offense, up to a maximum of 5,000 per offense. That's 10 days at 500 a day. And then comes a lien, and that means you can foreclose on this person for whatever these violations were. The criteria for the amount of the fine is not clear, and it should be. So can there be a scale? Weeds, cracks, giant holes, buckled squares, whatever. It just seems like this is kind of vague, but it's big bucks and it can compound.
When the
fast.
citation is issued, all those things are spelled out, know specifically what they need to do. It's all in the citation itself. It also talks about, here's what the fines are, you don't take care of it, you can appeal this, if you disagree. That's all in the citation itself. It's not in the ordinance. None of our ordinances. It's the same way we do with code enforcement. We don't say everything about roof. We can't imagine everything that might be involved with the house, but it is spelled out. When we see the issues, it's spelled out in the citation itself.
Where is it, okay, but maybe one day it wouldn't be spelled out in the citation. So where does it exist that people could look up and go, this is the whole deal with weeds or whatever it is? You know, like where does that exist that we could go, okay, so if you get busted for weeds, it's gonna be whatever, for how many days, to a limit of what exact offenses. I could think about my neighborhood right now and think of some people who should be ripping up their whole sidewalks, but they never have.
So would it help if we do a general statement on our website of standard operating procedures concerning code violations? You will receive a warning. You will then be given a citation that specifically lists the issues, problems, and mitigation that needs to be done. You will be given a time frame.
Yeah, like what was the time frame between the warning and the citation? Can you turn this around? How many days do you have before?
Generally,
you get-
Generally 30 days, right, Cassie? Once you go up here, so people can hear you.
Really kind of depends on the problem. If it's somebody cutting their grass, it's 7 days. If it's somebody that has to put new gutters on, if they call me and say, look, I can't get a contractor in here for 6 months, I'm going to give them that extension. So,
So when you say, what did you say was 7 days? Mowing the lawn?
like
Okay.
cutting your grass.
Is
And
that written somewhere? Like, I have warned you and you have 7 days. Like, is that somewhere that you can go on the website or, you know, and look?
Not
under?
necessarily. Because everything, so like, just say for instance, grass. I give them 7 days. If it rains all 7 days, they're not probably going to cut their grass. So it's very full as far as, you know, if you have a contractor coming out, they're saying, hey, I can't get to you in spring, we're fine with that. As long as you bring in the contract or name or, you know, sometimes they come and they fill out the occupational license, say, put the address where I'm doing work. Sidewalks, it's kind of different because there's contractors involved. So it's kind of going to, and they can get workers.
Mhm. Right. Yeah, I understand. I mean, it's hard to get contractors. You can get a call back.
It is.
But,
And we're not, I mean, here's the thing. I'm not going to cite something for a little sidewalk. I mean, we're talking about major trip hazard, major problems that have, you know, we have a lot of people that walk in the community. So it's
I-
going to be for
I get it. all.
definitely problem.
It
not-
just seems, I'm trying to think of a scenario. This
If it's
seems
too-
very expensive, like.
Yes.
And then you're locked into it. And what if you appeal at the code board? And what if they say, no, that's our code and that's how we have it written, yada, yada. And now they're struggling. Say something bad happened. They can barely make their bills.
And we
Something
do
bad
have that. We do have
and,
that.
Yeah, like they really, you know, and now they're into it for 15 grand.
Mhm.
Well, they couldn't even pay 175.
Sure.
So now you got a lien on their property.
Sure.
This is all, you know, I mean, it seems like a money grab. It seems cruel. You know, I'm I'm not advocating for weeds or broken up sidewalks.
Right.
But
I understand.
don't want to put people in a position where real quick, they're scared that they're losing their house because
Sure.
they can't get it. They don't have the relatives to give it to them. They can't do it. Like
Sure.
they're struggling right now.
Sure.
And that would just be horrific.
Sure.
And you're not getting another house cheap again.
No.
So, yeah,
So-
I think these fines should come way down. Yeah.
So is that your solution, to lower the fines?
Yeah, I guess so.
And when you
yeah.
lower the fines, now you're lowering the fines for every offense, not just sidewalks.
Dilapidated buildings.
Okay?
I'd also like to say something.
Yes.
The reason why the fines are so high is because people, if they are low, then people would prefer to pay the fines than to fix the actual issues. So what we encounter is these properties that are consistently not upholding the rules. The neighbors are upset.
They just think it's the. cost
They're
of
not
doing
fixing
business.
them because the fine, it is cheaper to pay us
Correct.
for high grass than it is for them to pay for someone to mow their grass.
How many people are like that though?
We have a
Many.
few.
Many.
We have a few.
I mean, if you're like, okay, we're trying to protect people, we're trying to be decent, and say you 5 ruin it for everyone to where we're considering putting fines to get somebody out of their house. Is there something punitive that you can do for that specific situation? Like,
No.
listen, you're a scofflaw, or you just write us off like the cost of doing business. It's different than like you are not. You're a hot mess. You're trying to get it together. You have made moves. You've gotten rid of the weeds, but you can't fix the hole yet because you can't afford it. But you're working on it. Versus this kind of person that he's describing, where it's like doing it all the time and they just write it off. Could you differentiate between a person who's really struggling and a person who's a jerk and doesn't respect
We
the
do it all the
community
time.
or the
I
law?
think that's what
Yeah.
Cassie was saying, where
We
she
do it a lot.
needs that flexibility
I-
in
asking-
order to determine, is this the first time offender? Are they trying? Are they showing me proof that they're getting these contractors? Or is it someone I've dealt with over
They
and
might
over
not be
again?
getting those contractors. I mean, they might. I'm worried about people. I know some people that are really struggling. So it's.
And we do have people that have struggled, and we do have,
We work.
we've worked with many people, many, give them extensions, talk to family members. There's a lot of things that go on behind the doors that, people don't really see every day. We've
have to go
dealt-
out and help
we've-
people
yeah,
with issues.
we've dealt with a lot of,
Can do it themselves.
Okay, so you're saying that you need a loaded gun for these people who you can't motivate them any other way, but to make them hurt, right?
They-
Financially.
There are people who just ignore code enforcement. We have no time to just ignore it. And this is for the business.
And so you say,
just
we
can't-
gotta lean on your property, we're gonna take it.
I'm just going to say
we don't wanna
99
take it.
point,
What we want to do is clean up.
We don't
wanna
care about the
make
money. We
We
don't care
want.
about
I
that.
know.
We
Right.
just
I
want
know,
to
but
clean up the
because
property.
Because on the books, you can.
But you could,
Okay,
but
we
the
gotta
term you
have some
said,
hammer, and that's the hammer we have. If you don't have it, as Jared says, they're not gonna do it.
So in my opinion, the worst thing we can do is to ignore code violations.
Yeah.
It will only further
Not.
cause issues
Sure.
and problems.
I'm not suggesting to.
and also, like, I would say 99% of the people that get that first notice, if they are going to fix it, they're going to call me. Say, look, I don't have the money. I need grass. I can't get a new gutter put on. Can you give me an extension? It's
What do you do in
that
situation?
small percentage
Like,
of
I
people
grew
who
up.
just don't respond to anything. They just don't respond.
What do you do with someone who's lost their job or they
We
can't,
have,
you
we
know?
have that all the time.
We've had people go out and cut their grass. We've had people do all kinds of things. I mean,
We've organized groups to help take care of properties and people, elderly people can't do it. I mean, we do this all the time.
It just seems like,
I know, but really, I
Surreal
mean,
reading
is
it.
the sidewalk any different than someone leaving junk in their yard and then we wanted to drop the bomb then? I mean, if we change this for code, you're gonna have to do it all the way across the board. And it was a few months ago when people had junk in their front yards or backyards, we wanted to drop the hammer because we tried and tried and tried.
Mhm.
But now this issue, we want to let it go? I mean,
I
it don't
guess,
make
I
any
guess this
sense.
issue, I don't want to let it go, but like people having piles of junk, junking, whatever,
I mean, ordinances,
you've chosen to do that. You've chosen to pile crap all over, make it unsightly, make it unsafe, rodents, all of it, vagrants, all of it. You've made that choice. These people, they're just trying to maintain and they get busted, but really like it's, you have to come up with some money, and maybe they're struggling. I'm just worried, it's not like, well, you had a ton of crap all over for, 2 years. No,
Sure.
it's like it's cracked.
This is
they-
also,
They
And I
don't,
feel like, these are such high figures.
That's what we're doing.
they
this
don't
program to
get
help
busted.
People pay for sidewalks.
Maybe,
So-
but maybe they're not low income. Maybe they're struggling right now, in one way or another. Maybe they have medical bills. Maybe that didn't make the cut. And
Right.
you've got a multiple fines of $5,000. They can't make it. Maybe they don't have an uncle. They're like, I'm in deep crap. I need to check. Maybe they can't get out of it. And then the fact that it's on the books and now you can move toward lien. Yikes. I mean, I don't
Wouldn't
know what
that
to
be a
say. Yeah, it's not
situation
perfect.
on anything in code? I guess, you can make
It's-
that same argument. I'm
I was
not,
gonna say, we could sit here and
yes, it's that
argue.
way. That's
all
our
day
code,
long.
that's our code enforcement schedule. I mean, those fines are our code enforcement schedule.
and this really is a public safety issue, much like junk and rat. We're trying to be a pedestrian-friendly community.
I understand.
And there are some areas, and I'm sure this is not, we're not going to go through town and cite 500 people right off the bat. It's gonna be a worst-case
Right.
We're
Situation.
going to prioritize it. We're going to hit the
Right.
first problems first.
And one of the things that may affect our thinking on this is, and this is the first I've seen the new budget proposal, the city's sidewalk grant allotment
Yes,
to
like I
match
said,
up to
for low-
$2,500.
For low income.
Right. It's a 50/50 match up to $2,500. And if I'm not mistaken, we have that concrete agreement, us and Bellevue both with the one concrete company
Right.
that has a set per
Amount.
square foot. So we can access that information. So it's not like we're not giving them any outs here. And really, it is a public safety issue.
I mean, just look what's going on in this community. The 30 properties back there are all code enforcement properties that are 90% of them have been changed. They've gone from being empty, blight properties to taxable properties now. It's the same thing with sidewalks now. We've got properties that have horrible sidewalks. Elderly people are walking those sidewalks. They need to address that. And now, if there's an issue and you don't have money, you go to the code board. They're very flexible. Hey, we'll give you more time. That's what you get the code board for. Just because your citation doesn't mean it's over, just appeal that and go to the code board and make your case. In the past, they've given leeway to people who have issues like that. So there are protections in that event. So
And just because you get a notice doesn't guarantee, if you call me, you talk to me before a citation even goes out, we will work with you. I'll work with you. I don't have a problem.
And so wait, they already got the warning before the citation,
They get a notice.
a notice. So then they should call you.
And it depends on what it is. Like I said, if it's cutting your grass or pulling some weeds, I'm going to give you 7 days. 7 days, you should be able to get your. Now, if it's a gutter, if it's paint your building, if it's things like that, we're going to give you. And people call and they say, hey, I need even more time. Or I talked to the contractor, he needs, 6 months. Okay, that's fine. So, I don't have a problem with
I
working.
know you don't.
Yeah.
I know you don't.
So, I understand I do understand your
I just
concern, but I
haven't
also
gotten
think
close
that,
to a $5,000 times 3 for this, that, and the other thing. Then they're SOL. That's kind of scary, especially in this time when they're not getting another house.
what would be the difficulty of having different fines for different code enforcement issues?
And spelling that out, like weeds.
I'm just like administratively and, legally and all of that, like what sort of hurdles would that introduce? Or, what things would it make simpler?
So you could certainly do it. I mean, you would just have to add another subchapter. The the only thing that's acute in this situation, which could be a little issue, is this particular civil penalty calls for, or the cost the city of Dayton to abate the violation, not to put on any more fire on it, but you really need to probably clarify, if you choose to create another subsection, how to handle that language, because we do that for the code enforcement issues. So clearly sidewalks, we can do it at their, they have to pay for it at our expense. But if you start to narrowly tailor these civil penalties, you could get into a situation, it happens, where the city is picking and choosing which code enforcement issues are more important or prioritizing it. And what we've experienced with code enforcement boards over the years is discretion is everything. I mean, they've got absolute discretion to make the right decisions based on a case-by-case basis.
Who does?
Code enforcement boards.
Okay.
Ultimately,
Yeah.
right? I mean, the board is who you put on that board. So just as a cautionary tale, if you head down the route of creating 96, 99A or whatever you do, just make sure that you address that one sentence, or the cost the city to abate the violation, or both. It has that language.
What did you say? You're talking quiet. What?
It has language that talks about the $100 per day per violation, but not more than $500 per day per violation, or the cost the city of Dayton to abate the violation, or both. So it's a step increase. You could fine them, abate them at your cost,
And also find them.
but that's not unique just to sidewalks. It's just part of the measure that's built into the civil penalty phase.
The program that you're describing with the different fine rates is exactly the same program you had 4 years ago. We've worked through the last 4 years changing this program in order to make it what it is today. And we've had these conversations over the past few
But when I
years.
read this, I thought, this sounds nuts. Because you could get, one offense for something, one offense for something, one offense. And say this person is not a negligent landlord, or you can't get through to them, or they're turning their nose at you, whatever. No, they're really having issues. Either they have illness, or they are lost their job, or something, or they're having a domino effect of financial difficulty. And to hit them with a hammer of, okay, they've got three violations, and now, conceivably they could get hit with $15,000 and a lien on their property. It just seems like, not Christian. I mean, not, what the heck? And so I feel like, I understand the intent, because you're trying to go, I know addresses around here that irk me, and you can't move them, and they spit in your face. You can't move them, but I worry about painting this with a broad brush. And I know that you work with people, and I'm sure that, this person struggling could call you and work something out, but it doesn't say that.
Beth,
It's not coded into law here. It's like it's the Cassie's nice.
What I'm also going to tell you is this is the reality. And the reality is that the city takes on a tremendous liability. The ordinance puts the responsibility on the property owner to maintain the sidewalk. But once someone slips, falls, there's a problem, the cities who get sued, the city is the one that there's plenty of case law that talks about that. You can't take that liability and extend it to the property owner. So we, in effect, are the ones who are penalized for not making sure that our citizens are protecting their own property. That's the reality. And over the last, 20-something years of doing this, there's
We had one a few years ago.
Sure. That selectively find cases where they can go after the municipality with a big pocketbook. So for what it's worth, I think the answer is that you're going to have people that are traversing these sidewalks more and more because the community is just becoming that way. You got to protect them. If not, the city is steward of your city. You've got to be looking out for this litigation path that's coming.
Okay, so say you have this person that's struggling, and they have not always been neglecting their property or creating a dangerous situation, but now here they are. And the city steps in and just does it the squares are messed up, there's a big hole, if they're wonky, they're, whatever. You did it, and then you bill that person. How does that work? Like, instead of all these $5,000 fines?
Legally, there's a code enforcement lien. It's on a property, and the
No.
city.
Can they pay you? Can they pay it?
You
Can they
say have the city do it and
Yeah.
then ask them to pay you for that?
Yeah,
We would put a lien on their property to
Yeah.
make sure that they pay. It's the same mechanism.
but what if they paid you? Like, that costs
But-
you roughly, like, say there's three, I'm sorry to take over this. I just really feel like,
Yeah.
If they're
I
paying-
feel like
That's what we're
I,
here.
If they're paying for it, then they can afford to do the job. Then this is all for naught.
And we do have, just for instance, we have a tenant, or a landlord who's out of state.
Mhm.
They didn't cut their grass. They got a notice. They got a citation.
Mhm.
We cut their grass.
Mhm.
They got a grass cutting and they paid it. They
Okay.
paid because what happens is you get a citation.
so that's nothing. to
Then
do
if
with
you
lien.
don't-
You'd only have a lien if you pay you.
We only have a lien if they go through the whole process. They don't
Yes.
we have to put a notice on their property saying.
We have to
hey,
give them a final
by the way,
notice, give
you
them
don't-
45 days.
Okay.
There's a whole process.
then
So it's
what
a
if
long,
someone has 4 horribly cracked squares? They're hazardous. And you've told them, and then you just go in and crack them up and fix them and present them a
We could
bill.
put a lien on their property for the cost of that.
yes.
Why put a lien? I mean, wouldn't you just say that was $1,600?
Well, we would send them an invoice.
Yeah.
And then if they didn't pay the
Thank you.
invoice,
Once they don't pay it, then we go in.
then we give them a
So-
final notice and we say, this is it. You have 45 days to appeal, or we're going to put this lien on your property.
There's another appeal provision there.
Yeah.
If they don't like the fact that they're have a lien on the property, they can appeal that too. So there's two opportunities to appeal the board before you get a lien put on the property.
Okay. I think the fines are really high. And I understand why.
You're allowed to
I
have an
understand why you
opinion.
do it. I understand why
Right,
you need it
right,
done. You need,
right.
but
Right.
I'm worried about the people who might slip through the cracks a little bit. I don't know.
And I just encourage anybody that gets a, notice to give me a call.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not going to, wait 10 years, but,
Mhm.
I'm flexible and I'm willing to work with people and we'll work something out if we have to.
Okay.
And
Try to
this
get
is
it.
more of, I'll get back to it again. You give citations for chip paint and gutters falling down, et cetera. That affects their property, not John Q. Public so
Correct.
much. Affects the neighbors some. A sidewalk,
I know.
that's public space, and our primary job is to provide a safe community. And like you said, there are some wonky sidewalks around here that someone's going to fall. Or
And we get a
already
lot of
has, and it's-
complaints. We get a lot of people calling saying, I walked my dog. It was dark. I tripped. We do get people that call and say, hey, can you come out and look at this?
Mhm. I know some.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think they've ever been cited. Okay.
You
A
good?
clarification on this, if I could.
Yeah.
And this, we also have the order resolution 2024-5R coming up, which we tabled last month.
Right.
For a sidewalk maintenance policy. And as I said, it's in the budget for a match up to $2,500. And I think one of the issues that's going to be brought up later tonight is parking on sidewalks. Okay? This also includes the duty of property owner to maintain abutting sidewalks and curbs.
Right.
Okay? We got a lot of curb problems in town, a lot of curb complaints that cause flooding. When the curbs are busted down, we have people parking on sidewalks, which the sidewalks aren't thick enough to support a vehicle. The curbs usually are. Am I to understand that even if the curb is, you have that grass section in between in some neighborhoods, and then the sidewalk,
Right.
that on that property, the curb itself is also the responsibility of the property manager based on this,
They-
or the
they
property
have to
owner?
keep it clean, yes.
But for
And to
fixing it
repair
if
it.
it's broken.
Repair it.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. Could I ask Jean Cole? Jean Cole has been on the ethics board before. Do you have any thoughts about this? Does it seem high to you?
You need to come speak and we can hear you.
Yeah.
And she used to be on the ethics board, Jean Cole.
This is the first question I've ever received.
Well, I have a question.
No, I mean, I see what your point is,
Mhm.
but I do think they need the leverage to be able to really hold
understand.
that person to accountability. I really like what I'm hearing,
Yes.
and you're very kind. So I don't think we have to worry that,
Oh, no, I mean, it's not her.
that someone's going to, no, I know it's not.
She's great, yeah.
She is.
It's
She's
just-
wonderful.
Yes.
But I think because she's wonderful and because the city does care about it, I think we're gonna, elderly sick couple pushed out on it because
Okay.
of their sidewalk. That's my feeling.
Okay,
I think if we did, we'd probably all be.
I hope so.
But the
I hope
ones
so.
that, and you know, the one we've talked about, the one situation, that
Mhm.
was, we need some fire there.
I
Hope people-
understand.
I know you
yes.
do.
It's,
Just for being kind.
I'm
But I
trying to
think-
protect. Okay,
I think,
okay, thank you. Thanks. Okay,
Sir?
yes.
I,
On this issue,
I have no problem with it.
you need to come up here, though, we can't even be able to hear you.
Sorry, Aaron Judd, resident on the main avenue here in Dayton, across from Ben's place. Just listening in here. What's that?
I'm sorry about that.
Oh, yeah, I know, right? So just listening in here, and I'm trying to take it all in. If you don't know already, I'm a candidate for city council, so I'm trying to step in here as often as I can to learn more about what's going on. I was there for the first reading of this, and now I'm here for the second reading of this. I just have some general questions that I think might help clarify some things. I understand all the concerns that Beth has and everything like that. So I guess general question, who owns the sidewalk? Is it the owner?
Usually,
the city.
often the property runs all the way to the street, but it can depend. It depends on, sometimes it's right of way, sometimes it's owned by the property owner. It's different in each case. So it's never,
Okay,
unless you examine the title of each property, you're never going to answer that question. Correct?
okay. I just know because the comment here by Mr. Neary was that are the curbs part of this as well? And just today, actually on the way home from work, I noticed there's a giant chunk of my sidewalk curb that's laying in my grass now. It was not that way when I left this morning. And so I get that most of the sidewalks, the erosion is like normal wear and tear, right? But how much of it is people parking on my sidewalk? Because that happens all the time. And then secondarily to that, in general, I think we need more clarity on who owns this stuff, and maybe we can figure that out at a later time. But this to me sounds like an unfunded mandate, right? You're saying that the people, for the most part, own the sidewalk, but then you're forcing them to pay to fix the sidewalks that is an issue for the city, not for them.
No, every city does this. It's your responsibility to maintain sidewalks around your house. That's right of way, it's public space, but most property owners, that's your property with a right of way that is given for public access. So
Okay.
most properties run to the street, not always, but in many cases they do. And this is right of way that is public access is given to. So it's your responsibility.
Is that kind of a general stance that we just do whatever most cities do?
No, of course not.
Okay.
But the city can't repair all these sidewalks. It cannot afford to repair every sidewalk in the city. It's got to be, and most cities require citizens to do that. That's, we don't assess for improving streets, but a lot of cities assess property owners. Fort Thomas for years has done it. Fix your streets. We do that with city funds. So, but we can't do it with the streets and sidewalks. We just can't afford to do that.
Last question, sorry. Has there been a cost benefit analysis on the liability side of things versus enforcement and all that kind of stuff?
I think that it's universally accepted that sidewalks, the cost shifting to the citizen is throughout the whole state, arguably probably the country, is all absolutely necessary for preservation of city asset and funds. All new subdivision regulations requires the developer to put the sidewalks in. It's never done by the city. So, I mean, everyone is shifting and has shifted for many, many years for purposes of making sure sidewalks are done. There are some cities that have budgets set aside money for repair of sidewalks. Not all cities do. It just depends on how much money they have in their coffer. So,
That's all the questions. Thank you.
And that would go back to the time that
Thank you.
that the block or the house itself was developed and built, whether or not the city had an ordinance in place, like most cities do, that you got to put a sidewalk out front.
Right.
I actually attended a meeting in Fort Mitchell last night. I was nominated to handle it in our neighborhood, Old Fort Mitchell. They were trying to put sidewalks in, and no one goes to council meetings ever. There was 100 people last night at a caucus, upset. You hear about that? And the mayor handled it handled it really well. And the logic is that there's a balance now of who wants sidewalks versus not. There's lots of kids. It's a very controversial issue. But the city has a policy that in all of their new streets, whenever they do a street, they build in the sidewalk as well, part of the bid package. And then they ask the community, tell us if you want them or not. So we won't put them in unless you want to. And then the city comes, or the constituents come in, or the citizens, and say yay or nay. So most of I actually haven't heard anyone that's not, or that's for the city putting the sidewalk in, because some are concerned about the cost associated with maintaining them. The reality is that the city, they're going to put them in under that budget, but they're not going to maintain them. And then the property owners are like, once they find that out, it's like, no way, I don't want this.
Right. But I think in our case, where most of the houses are 50 to 100, 150 years old, the neighborhoods, the city's responsibility is from curb to curb, from the outside of the curb to the other side. So paving, et cetera. That's why they always have the argument about, that's my parking spot out front. No, that's public. That's the city's space. So I think if we go by the guideline of wherever the asphalt is, from curb to curb, that's the city. Anything from there to the front door is the property owner's responsibility.
So what they realize is the reason we have such a great walkable community is because we were built around the streetcar.
Right.
And those sidewalks are all there because people who walk on the sidewalks get to the streetcar. Cars came later. And so those sidewalks have always been maintained by the residents in front of their houses, even back when the streetcars were here. So, yes.
Lively discussion. I love it. All right. Are we talking about 10th Street? Can you give us a minute? Talking about 10th Street?
Is it about this?
Well, we let the other gentleman speak, and we'll let you speak as well. Ma'am?
I'm excited to be here. I'm new. Late husband's family is in here. So to address you. No, speaking as a retired widow, I know a lot of retired people who are one income now. And my only thing I think is trying to say, I'm not, is a lot of people aren't clear on things when it's talk. I don't think a lot of, because I'm on anything that's in Dayton. I hear what people write. They don't think, well, if you're counseling, that's how you get to know and get involved. Come here. I think what people need to know is clarity at if they get us. Let me tell you, if I got a citation, I would out. Yeah. I would out. Oh my God. And I would want to know, hey, she's here. She will talk to me.
Yeah.
And she will help me work it out. That's what's named.
Yeah.
And then it's because, and I also know a lot of older people I'm 71. They won't ask. They don't know about laws and they're just going to sit there and out and let money accrue.
Yes.
So that's what I would say. And I'm going to start coming. I feel like I'm the voice of color. When people say, oh, blah, 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 blah. No, I was there. I heard what they said.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to be positive. Don't just complain. Tell the trolls. Stop dividing. But and the other thing I would say, man, I'm gonna look at the sidewalk when I get home. I didn't know I was responsible for the sidewalk and the curb, and I've been. I was a homeowner, and there's a clear pathway to help fix. I would want to know that if I asked the city to get it fixed, that I could make payments. A lot of people wouldn't be, I couldn't just about $6 because I don't do the trust. It's horrible hiring.
Yes.
It is horrible. Don't even know.
Yes.
Correct. I understand.
So it would be good to put people who the city would recommend to do it at a reasonable price.
That will be part of the program we're doing with the grant, is we're going to have to vet the individuals, because I've seen it before, it's not been done and you get horrible products, so we will definitely
Thank
do that.
And before you step down, I
Yes.
forgot to, and I know you, but could you state your name and address, please?
Colleen Haig,
Your address.
312 9th Street.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ms. Haig.
Yes. And my house looks really pretty. I bet people on my street are happy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Appreciate your participation. If you'd like to approach the podium and state your name and address, please.
Brumick and 409 10th Avenue. So with the, recently, they fixed, I'm at almost the corner of McKinney and 10th. The two corners were fixed, made nice, have the little bumpy red.
Yeah,
so-
accessible ramp.
Right. So with that, how does that work? That's the public sidewalk.
We do the ADA, we required by federal law to do the ADA accessibility, so we paid for that.
What about there's a semi truck? Amazed how they made it that far. It turned right onto McKinney, crushed the corner with sewer lid.
Recently?
It was before the corners were fixed, but that was a separate thing that got
Yeah,
fixed
I saw
before
it, I
they got
remember
down.
that,
to
yeah,
So how does that work? Truck comes through. and
If
smashes
we can get identification, we will contact them and tell their insurance company to pay for that. That's, we've done that before. Yeah.
They weren't going
Sometimes
anywhere.
we-
They weren't
some-
running.
Sometimes we don't, yeah.
They were, bottom out on the curb.
Yeah.
Well, that was
Okay.
a question.
Love the
Thank you
participation.
for speaking. You,
Yes.
well, you too, but Colleen, that's exactly what I'm thinking. That, now that I thought what you said, that would be scary, and I know that a lot of people would kind of avoid it and wouldn't know how to get a contractor, and it would be kind of overwhelming, and they're on a fixed income, and that's why I asked, would it be possible that the city did it and they paid it? That's exactly what I was thinking. It's kind of, yeah, so thanks.
But this,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I know how you have to have this to be so severe because of the people around here, some of them, these junk people and whatever, but I wouldn't want somebody else on a fixed income to be caught up in this and then lose a house. Okay.
But this is the same as somebody's roof is bad and they get cited or their siding's off. You're still going to have to deal with contractors that 5, 6 figures maybe. At least with this, if we approve this budget with the $2,500 match, there's some,
6 figures? $100,000?
there have been some houses that have been cited
Okay.
that are on that list up there that required $100,000 worth of work. I'm saying, as far as changing the
Change it, we
fine
have to
on
do it all
this,
the way across the board,
yeah,
and then we're gonna
that'd
become
be
a
crazy.
bank, and we have to finance everything.
Okay.
sorry.
Okay.
No, this is great conversation. That's why we meet, to have conversations.
It's very unfortunate. You know, I feel like I can't really see where, I know the people who are really aggravating that are very neglectful of their properties. They don't care. You can cite them a million times. You got to put a lien. It's endless. They filed for bankruptcy. It's endless. And for this, you've got to load a gun for just like people who might, you know, I would think in the course of your life, you're going to have a problem. And,
But-
you know, so it is unfortunate. I understand.
And I work with Cassie Patterson.
I know she's great.
Probably-
Never saying anything wrong.
I wouldn't even say 8 hours a day. Probably goes 10 hours a day. It feels like I work with her. And she's one of the nicest persons to work with. And,
Mhm,
and
I know.
She cares about everybody.
Yep, she's
And,
great. But I do like Colleen's suggestion that maybe, and Cassie's, we'll walk you through the next steps. It isn't so
Yeah.
scary and punitive, like, okay.
Yeah, when you get a letter from the
more-
city, it is a little intimidating.
Yeah, but like, don't get scared. Call us at this number. We want to work with you. We're trying to improve public safety and we're not after you. You know,
Right.
something that's nice, you know, and reach out to these people.
Change the letterhead on the citations. Maybe some flowers on there or something.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes,
can we call the question, please?
would you like to call the vote?
I would.
Are you done discussing? Do you have breakfast plans you need to get to?
I think we just beat it to
All right, is there any other discussion regarding ordinance 2024-5? All right, we'll go ahead and close out discussions. Roll call, please, Ms. Klein.
Member Neary,
Aye.
Member Neiman,
No.
Member Kelly,
Aye.
Member Wyrick, Member Levens,
Aye.
Member Volter.
Aye.
The ayes have it. Right next in the docket, move right along. First ordinance reading of 2024-6. This is just a first reading. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance amending section 32.21 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances to change the dates of city council meetings.
So last week we discussed the problem with our meeting dates being the first Tuesday. We often have holidays and it's just probably not the best time. I mean, first and third. So we decided to move to the second and fourth Tuesdays of the month. So if this is approved at the next meeting, that would go into effect in July. So that was based on suggestion and discussion by council last week.
And administration, you know, like today's an excellent example. We got a budget coming up here in the next couple of readings here. Putting all that stuff together by the, you know, May 2nd is huge stress on staff. And also putting together the reports. When you are our fire department, our police department, our public works, code enforcement, all those fine folks. Getting it ready at that time, it's nice to have a little bit of buffer. So that's why this is there. And we'll have a month we can discuss this and we'll come back in June and talk about it one more time.
I'm gonna go up there.
Are you gonna go there? Okay.
Speaking of budgets, next on our docket is the first reading ordinance 2024-7. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance adopting the City of Dayton, Kentucky's annual budget for the fiscal year running from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025, and estimating revenues and resources and appropriating funds for the city to the full extent authorized by KRS 82.082 and interpretive case law.
Hello.
Hello, Mr. Sparks.
Here to talk about the budget. I I know everyone's really excited, but it is good news this year. So I'm excited to talk about it. Everyone should have budgets in front of you. Anybody that's watching online, this will also be put on the website and Facebook directly after this meeting if they want to take a look at it as well. I have taken out some things that just to make the document shorter and easier to understand. So I'm sure you'll enjoy hearing that as well. So the first thing, as always, on page 4 and 5, that is the actual ordinance that you are passing when you pass the budget ordinance. So all of the supplemental information past that is just additional information for you to look at and just some transparency for the community to see how these numbers roll out for them. So that Excel sheet on page 5 is the actual document that you will pass as the budget. So it has all your columns and your taxes and all that information. And this is what most cities have when they pass a budget, is just these two documents. But we go further and try to provide more detail so people actually understand what these numbers mean for their everyday life. So I'm going to skip a number of pages through the next section because it's just informational and talks about our schedule, how we come up with the document, what our financial policies are. Those have not changed in the last 3 years, so I'm not going to cover those, but it is there for anyone to look at. This schedule just talks about how the budget document, the timeline, how it works, what meetings we have, what input we take in when we're creating the yearly budget. So the next page I want to start on is page 16. I'll give a second for you all to turn over there and for me to scroll down there. Okay, so page 16, I'm going to draw your attention to the first table that starts at 2014 and ends at 2023. So every year I calculate what the income of the workers, these are not the residents, these are the people that work in the city, the people that we're getting payroll taxes from. So in that group, that entire group in 2014, their income was a little over $25 million, $25.9 million. A decade later, now 2023, that income has doubled to over $50 million. So that means that the workers in the city, we are getting double the amount of payroll tax, meaning people are making more money. There are more jobs in the city, so we have more workers working in the city, and this is all great for the city's bottom line and great for those workers as well. Are there any questions about that?
Does this include all of the temporary workers that have been building the apartments?
It does. It does.
So
So there is going to be a bit of a bubble here that we're going to have to keep track of in the next couple of years. Once this construction boom slows down, this is going to affect our numbers somewhat. So we just need, there's no really way for us to anticipate that or know how much by any means, but we budget very conservatively. So I have full faith that we're going to be fine.
And also the clerk's office worked diligently to get folks to pay payroll and occupational license fees that in the past maybe
Right.
wasn't the case.
Which we will cover in just a sec. So if no other questions for that, we're going to turn over to page 18. 18 shows the list of the goals that the city council had and what your voting was for those particular goals. We utilize that in the creation of this document and in the creation of how we're going to spend our money. So that is the list of what you all decided were your priorities as the city council. The next page I'm going to go to is page 20. Page 20 shows the 3 largest income streams for the city of Dayton. And those streams are property tax, insurance premium tax, and payroll tax. And those 3 are the largest streams in every city just because of the tax code that the state allows us and what they allow us to tax. So as you can see, there have been some changes in the way that those streams are behaving based on some decisions that you as a council have made in the last couple of years. So the first thing that I'm going to draw your attention to is that payroll tax is now our number one income generator, which is typically true of most cities in the Commonwealth. And this is great news for us and something that we've been working diligently on because we were, as of 4 or 5 years ago, relying primarily on property taxes. While that is a very stable income stream, the other two were lacking. We want to see a diversified group of funds coming in. That way, if you lose one, you can still rely on the other ones to keep you going. My former city is a prime example of this. They were over-reliant on payroll tax. They lost their major factory. The city almost went bankrupt and went through a very dark period for a decade or more. So seeing these trending closer together is what we want to see. We also want to see that payroll tax leading the way, which is exactly what's happening. So these are all great indicators that we are in a very healthy direction. Are there any questions about that? Okay. Next, we're going to go to 21. So just the next page over. That pie chart is showing you where our income streams are coming from. Taxes, 35%, license and permit, 43%. Those are very similar pieces of the pie. We also have everything else that is kind of the miscellaneous funds. They also are very similar. So we are showing a very diversified budget, which is what we want. Underneath that, property tax, 22% of our revenue is from property tax, insurance premium tax, 20%, and occupational payroll tax, 29%. Like I said, we want those percentages to be close to the number, and them being less than 10% difference is a good sign. Now we're going to go to page 2. Page 22 shows the expected grant revenues. These are some pending projects that we've had on the books for a long time. So we're keeping that money in our account to make sure that we can provide the funds for that project when it does come, when we can start construction on that. There are 2 of them, the Riverfront Levee Wall Trail in bold, and then down at the bottom, the Urban Forestry Grant in bold. Those are still pending approval, so we don't know if we're going to get those grants or not. But we still have to budget for them in case we do. It's particularly the forestry grant because we have a very slim window in order to make that happen. So we have to front the funds, essentially wait to see if we get it. If we don't, then we just won't spend it. Okay. Down below that, total revenues, you're going to see grant income at 40%, operational income at 60%. This is the first year where we've seen the operational income overtaking the grant income as the leading source of income for us, which is good because it's showing that we're getting a lot of those grant projects off the books. We're getting them completed. We don't have to worry about them anymore. We don't have to save that money year after year and just have that huge carryover. So that is a good sign as well. Any questions? Okay. Next page is 23. These are the revenue schedules. For each of our funds, we have the general fund, municipal road aid, park, TIF, and economic development funds. Really, we're going to pay most of our attention to general fund because that's where most of our money is, and that's where most of our money is spent out of. So I always do a side-by-side comparison. So I like to see where are we trending? Are we trending up? Are we trending down? So each category is going to show you 3 separate years, past 3 years, in fact, and this upcoming budget year. So you can see, are we going up in revenue? Are we going down? And they are trending up, which is always great for revenue. Next page, we're going to go to 26. This is the chart that I know you've seen a million times, and I'm sure you're tired of me talking about it, but another great sign here. So each of these colored kind of stacked lines, so you see purple, green, yellow, blue, red, equates to a department in the city. So code enforcement is purple. You really can't see it because it's so small. Green is, what is green? Admin. Public works yellow, police blue, fire red, and then gray is kind of miscellaneous spending. So each of those stacked on top of each other is going to show you what our operational expense is on a yearly basis. How much does it cost the city to operate on a day-to-day basis, not counting capital spending, one-time spending on buildings or vehicles? This is what it would take for us to keep going, essentially. So the black line that you see up at the top is how much revenue we're taking in. So if you can see number 4 there, 3 years back, prior to that, the city was operating at a net loss. They were spending more to operate on a daily basis than they were taking in at that point. So when I came in, that was the first priority that I wanted to change was we need to get our expenses in line to make sure that we can afford to keep going. So what we want to see on that chart is that the black line is clearing those stacked colors and that there is a gap there. So that gap is going to allow us to have extra funds to be able to have capital spending projects, provide new vehicles for the employees, things that are needed, but may not be an operational expense. So as you can see, the last 3 years, that revenue number is over what we are spending. So we have more money to contribute to grant matching, contribute to vehicles, buildings, repairs, things like that, that we need. So as you can see, the revenue line is trending up and we actually are trending down in our expenses to operate, which we have done over the last couple of years. Any questions about that? Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about the next page, and that is the general fund expenditures. It's going to outline each department and some other categories that we lump expenses together under one umbrella. And so you're going to see over a 3-year period how those numbers are changing. They are higher this year, which is normal because you're going to have salary increases year over year. You're going to have expenses. Things are more expensive to buy. So, for example, the police budget is more than it was last year. We increased their training budget. We increased their salaries. So there's a lot that goes into that, but it is normal for those numbers to continually go up, just as any household budget. The next few pages, starting on 28, are going to be our capital investment plan. And this is what people want to hear normally when you talk about budget. How are you spending this money? Maybe not necessarily on a daily basis. They don't care about that, but they want to know what big projects are coming down the pipeline. So I call out each of the major capital spending projects that we have, just so everybody knows kind of what we're spending their money on. So the first one is going to be police vehicles. We are buying, or leasing rather, 3 new police vehicles. They are going to be SUVs that will match what we currently have. One will be an administrative vehicle, and the other 2 will be patrol vehicles. Next, we are purchasing, or leasing rather, a public works vehicle. It will have a snowplow and a dump bed on it. It is a very expensive piece of equipment, but is very much needed by the department. And luckily, we had the funds in order to make that happen for them. Next is going to be the code enforcement vehicle. We're buying the code enforcement director a new vehicle. I make fun of her vehicle that she currently drives. I said it's the Flintstone car because it's in pretty bad shape and I feel like you have to pedal it yourself. So we're excited to be able to have a new vehicle for her. The next line is going to be city bonded project, and Jay, feel free to jump in because this is a different thing that we've done. The city currently has no debt, and we're looking to take on debt this coming year. So we are looking at a 30-year bond that will build a new city hall, a new public works building. It will rehab the current city hall building, which will turn into the police department fully, the entire building. And then, of course, we have our contingency fund in case, of course, all projects run over budget and whatever when you get into it. So how this is going to be split up, as you can see, that city bonded projects number is $1.3 million. We are going to get $500,000 in the year 2025 from the Manhattan Harbor developer as part of the agreement in the TIF district. So that's going to be $500,000. An additional $500,000 is going to come from the city's general fund. We have that money there to be able to spend. And then we are going to bond the rest of the project, which we estimate, and these are very, very rough estimates. We estimate that that payment is going to be $300,000 per year for 30 years.
And it could go down because interest rates are likely to go down as the economy improves, so that can be refinanced.
And we're going to be doing some smart money moves with the money. The interest rate that we are going to be paying is going to be less than the money we will be accruing by leaving it in a bank account. So we're going to get it early. That way we can leave it in a bank account and actually get more and more money over time.
But there's arbitrage laws that say you can only do that for about a year.
Right.
And you have to spend the
Right.
money, so we can hold on that money for a year, actually make more money than our interest rate is. And after that, you have to use it for your bond projects.
We are also, I don't want to say potentially, I don't know if it's a sure thing or not. We'll be getting more money from the developer over time, which will go toward this bond payment as well. So $300,000 won't necessarily be what we will spend. It'll be on a year by year basis to determine how much we will have to spend out of our own funds for that amount.
The waterfall.
Are there any questions about the bond? Okay. Next page, capital spending, grant matching. That's all of our grant projects that we have going on. Again, the forestry and the levee wall trail are pending. We don't know if we're going to get approved for that, but we have to money in there just in case. And then the subsequent lines underneath on that page and the next page are just detailing what each of those grants are, what they're going to do, how much they cost, how much we have to spend, et cetera. So I'm not going to go through the weeds with that. Notable spending, these aren't necessarily large capital projects, but they are things that are different than what we have done in years past. So I always like to call those out just so people understand some of the changes that we're going to be doing. The first one is Public Works seasonal employees. A few years ago, and like many cities, Dayton utilized inmate workers to maintain the streets and weed eat and things like that. And then the COVID pandemic kind of changed that to where those people are not available anymore. So some counties allow it and others don't. It's dependent on the jail itself, whether they will allow it or not, and Campbell County does not. So we are looking to fund 2 seasonal employees for the Public Works Department for the summer season, just to help them with the grass and getting through the kind of their peak time. City board funding, we always give a little bit to the different boards. These are volunteer boards, and it allows them to have creative ideas and be able to do little events and things like that. The museum board is a bit more, but they also have to maintain an entire building where the other boards don't. The next thing is Monument Park stage. I'm looking to, or we're looking to add a stage to Monument Park. I'm still getting bids on it, so that is a very rough guess on what it is. It'll be under roof, we'll have electric, it'll be ADA accessible, all of those things. So we'll be putting that out to bid soon. And so people, our Veterans Day program, Memorial Day program, Final Fridays, all of these things that we utilize that park for, we'll be able to use it. And the community at large, if no one's there, they can use it and have a little sing along, or the schools can use it, or what have you. So I think it'll have a lot of good use. Community garden funding on the next page. We're giving $1,000 to them. We typically don't fund them. It's a volunteer group. However, now we have 2 community gardens. The former Farm to Hangover site that the city was leasing to Susan Bearsworth, she is no longer doing that. So she has given us all the supplies that were there and are allowing us to take on that space as an additional community garden, which is about double the space of what we have in the former one. So we're going to have about 3 times the space that we had at the former location. So we'll be working with them to try to get their regulations in place in order to make sure that that works well. But we have to put some rules in place before we allow people to start planting things in there. So we'll be working on that in the coming months.
Them, like there's a whole other group.
This will be open to the community, so they can lease a plot or call a plot. I guess I don't know that we're going to charge, but I mean we'll have to have certain rules as far as you can't use pesticides and things like that because you're going to hurt another person's plot. So we just got to get through those kind of through the weeds in that.
Good. To the weeds.
That was unintentional, but I'll take credit for it. Next thing is clerk's office equipment and software. And Tristan, feel free to jump in if I miss something. We are looking to buy an automated stamp machine. And we are looking to take online payments, which I know is something that people tell me all the time that they want, particularly the businesses. So you'll be able to pay your payroll tax or any tax that we have on the website, and we can also utilize it. I'm thinking the Memorial Day banners that we just put up, people had to come into City Hall and pay for them. They could just pay it online if they wanted to when we have this system. Next two are going to be those sidewalk grant and parking pad grant allotments that we're putting. So and that program is not put together yet. So we're still working on who is going to be eligible for that. And I'm sure we're going to be having those conversations in the coming months. So we are putting $50,000 toward the sidewalk grant allotment. It is a 50-50 match up to $2,500. So they put $2,500 in, we'll put $2,500. If they spend $1,000, we'll put $1,000. Kind of works like that. So we will have a minimum of 20 grants available. So if they all max out at that $2,500 value, we'll have 20 of them available. And then the next one is the parking pad. We're trying to get people off street parking. Street parking is very limited. So if people install a parking pad behind their house, it gets their vehicles off the street, which helps everybody. So we are having a 50-50 match grant up to $1,000. And so we will have 10 of those available. And just like the sidewalk grant, we're still working through who's eligible and what and all that.
Are you intending on renewing these every year, or is just this a temporary thing?
So typically, things like this are done on a year-by-year basis, just depending on if you have the funds or not. So I don't want to say that this will be every year because I don't know. Community Betterment Fund, $30,000. That is the money that we pay for city events and Final Fridays, bands, all of those things. Decorations for the street also come out of that fund. Let's see. Next page on 32 is going to be all those non-major funds, which is everything but the general fund. And so you're going to see those year after year comparisons and how they've changed in expenditures. Some are trending up, some are trending down. That's very normal for non-major fund expenditures. The park fund capital, these are kind of like those notable spending. So the park fund has a recreational trail grant. That is a project that is going to be in Sergeant Park, which is an upgrading of the trail, signage, things like that. This is a project that we've had on the books for a long time. It has to be finished by December of this year, so we better get our butts in gear. And so that's going to be a major expenditure for them. We also have potential plans to put a dog park and pickleball court complex. So that will be out of the park fund as well, and we're estimating $100,000 toward that project. And the last thing for the park board and for the park fund is that there is going to be a fund of $125,000 for the park board and the city jointly to decide what projects can we do for the parks to get some upgrades. And that could be literally anything that they want to spend it on. And I know one of the primary objectives is to work on the playground equipment at Gillen Park. Prior to doing that, though, we will need to talk to the school system as they heavily utilize that space and see if there can be some cost sharing between us and the school system, as that was the number one priority by the city council in your strategic planning session. So the last notable spending is going to be the Economic Development Fund, $50,000 toward, and that is the DBA funds. That's our rental abatement program, our facade program. We also now have a first floor conversion program. So if a person in the commercial district has a residence on the first floor and they're grandfathered in, so we can't go to them and say, no, you got to turn this back into commercial. We are offering up to $15,000 to make the switch. It is a 50-50 match grant, so they will have to put in capital as far as electrical and all that stuff and get it up to code, and then we will match them up to $1,000 to get that project completed. Very last thing is going to be the fund balance, and that is on page 35. And the fund balance is essentially your savings account. How much money do you have left over after you've spent what you're going to spend throughout the year? The general rule of thumb that it's not a general rule of thumb, it is a financial policy of the city of Dayton, is that we keep 20% of our operational expenses in our quote unquote savings account. We do have a separate money market account where we get more interest from that money. But it's just our rainy day fund in case something disastrous happens and we need to resort to getting it. We always like a little bit of a buffer there. 20% is a very conservative number. That's pretty high compared to other cities. Most cities do 10 to 12. But I like to have a large pocket of money there in case something goes wrong. So according to this budget, which is much higher than previous year's budgets, we should at the end of the year have at minimum $950,000 in the bank in our fund balance, and according to this budget, and if we spend 100% of our expenses, which will not happen, we will have nearly 1.7 million, so almost double. So we'll have 40%, which is an extremely good number to have. So overall, we're in a very good position, and it's a very exciting time to be able to fully fund all the grant requirements we have, which was a struggle for us for a couple of years, and be able to provide all of these vehicles and all of these projects for the community in one single budget year. Any questions for me?
This is really nice. It's very
Thank you.
clear. I
Thank
love
you.
it.
Thank
Do
you.
y'all remember a few years ago when it was an Excel sheet
Yes.
and it was a 5-minute conversation? Jared, excellent work, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's incredible improvement.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that.
So again, this is the first reading. You guys have a whole month or so to look over this, ask questions, comments, concerns, praise, all those good things. But
2 weeks.
is that 2 weeks? We only have 2 weeks, so you might want to get to read. But again, excellent work, Jared.
You know, one thing that confuses me a lot of times on the budget and the monthly reports and all is the fact that these grants are included in the budget numbers, even though we haven't spent it yet. I mean, we're showing what the grand total proposed is $10.2 million. That's not true. 5 million of that is capital spending that. So I don't know if there's any way legally to be able to pull that money, those funds and our match out into a different category to reduce that confusion. I mean, everybody's going to think we're flush because, you know, we're spending a ton of money.
That's why in those tables that show the revenues and the expenditures, capital spending is its own line.
Right.
So it is separate. You'll just have to subtract the overall number minus what those capital spending. But we do have to keep it all in the one table.
Oh, you do have to keep it?
Yes.
Okay. But I just wanted to point out to John Q. Public too, who's thinking that we're blowing up
Sure.
that much of this is grant matching.
Right. And that's why there are multiple grant tables in the packet.
Right.
And how that grant works is we have to pay all the costs up front, and then the state reimburses us 80% of those costs, and we have to eat the 20% that is the match.
Gotcha. Well, we got 2 weeks to ask you more questions about it.
And please ask me within those 2 weeks. Don't wait until the next meeting because it's very difficult it's like steering the Titanic. It takes one thing affects the other. So please let me know as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burks. Moving right along, an hour and a half into the meeting. It's first reading of ordinance 2024-8. Ms. Klein, please.
An ordinance amending section 33.01 and 33.02 of the Dayton Code of Ordinances to reflect that fire and EMS services are provided in the city of Dayton by the Fire Department of Bellevue, Dayton, under the terms and conditions set forth in an interlocal agreement entered between the cities of Dayton and Bellevue, Kentucky, and approved by the Commonwealth of Kentucky.
So recently, Councilman Neary, who's on the fire board, found an ordinance that basically said we still operate a fire department within the city, which is not true. Many years ago, what year was it?
74.
74 was the ordinance. When did we enter into the local agreement?
2001.
2001, we entered.
Well, it started in 2001, but by the time the state ratified, it was 02.
Right. We entered into an interlocal agreement with the city of Bellevue with a separate entity, which is our fire department, to provide fire and EMS services in the city. Each year, part of our budget process, we assign half the cost of operating that with the city of Bellevue. But they are a separate entity, so we needed to reflect that in our ordinances and that we do not individually operate a fire department anymore, but that is done through an interlocal agreement. So this is just cleaning up that issue and showing that the interlocal agreement is the basis for operating the fire department.
I have a boring life. I read ordinances.
Ought to be retired. All right, again, that's just a first reading. So we're moving right along to the ordered resolutions. Only have two on the docket tonight. So order resolution 2024-5 Romeo. Ms. Klein, please.
An order resolution of the Dayton City Council adopting a sidewalk maintenance policy in conjunction with adoption of a new sidewalk maintenance ordinance.
So this order resolution is the policy that flushes out the responsibilities of property owners regarding sidewalks, curbs. And so it's a companion with the ordinance. The ordinance is just a general language explaining how the process works, but this gets in the weeds a little bit, no pun intended, to tell you what the responsibilities are in terms of maintaining sidewalks.
Do we have a motion to accept order resolution 2024-5 Romeo?
So move.
Member Volter's made the movement. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Good.
I'll second.
Second by member Lovins. Which opens up the floor for conversation. Do we have any questions comments regarding 2024-5R? Quiet. I'm quiet tonight. So if there's going to be no questions, I'll ask a roll call, please, Ms. Klein.
Member Neiman.
Aye.
Member Kelly.
Aye.
Member Levins.
Aye.
Member Volter.
Aye.
Member Neary.
Aye.
Ayes have it unanimously. Next on the docket, order resolution 2024-7 Romeo. Ms. Klein, please.
An order resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into a municipal road aid co-op program contract between the city of Dayton, Kentucky and the Commonwealth of Kentucky Transportation Cabinet Department of Rural and Municipal Aid for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2024, as provided in Kentucky Revised Statutes and accepting all streets referred to therein as being streets which are a part of the incorporated city.
So this is our annual order resolution we have passed in order to receive our municipal aid funding. It's typical of the thing we've done in years past.
Do I have a motion to accept 2024-7 Romeo?
I'll make the motion to accept 2024 7R.
I'll second.
Member Kelly's made the motion. We have a second by member Volter. Opens up the conversations, questions.
Member Neary seconded.
Was it Neary?
Yes,
Yeah.
Member
I'm
Neary.
sorry, my face was down. Member Neary, I'll update my notes here. Any comments, questions, concerns regarding this ordinance? All right, roll call, please.
Member Kelly.
Aye.
Member Levins.
Aye.
Member Volter.
Aye.
Member Neary.
Aye.
Member Neiman.
The ayes have it unanimously. And now we are on the home stretch, the department director's monthly reports. It's May in Kentucky. We talk about horses. Ladies first. Ms. Patterson, can you please give your report regarding code enforcement, ma'am?
Words. Had a little bit of a problem with trash. Typically, they will send me an email, but there have been a lot of cans out, if you noticed. Not on trash days. Probably why. I don't know if they're going through illness or turnover or what it is, but typically they'll email me at the end of the day and say, we're just kind of encouraging it. Couple people trash out. I don't know. But they are really good about emailing us. And grass. And I have the rental inspection, so it feels moving along. Almost still trucking along. And last council meeting, you asked me for I kind of took over the rental licensing, brought some numbers. Do you have any?
Yeah, one of the things with the trash that you mentioned, I see posts on Facebook on a Saturday, I'm putting out a dryer or a washer, and their
I
trash day is
know.
not till the following Friday. Okay. Does that fall under you can't put out your trash until 24 hours before?
Absolutely.
Are we citing it all for that? Thank you. And when is our Republic contract up?
Coming up.
We're in the final year, so we're going to need,
What I thought.
we bid that out.
I
One of the
also,
issues-
I also encourage people, if you do have a large item, all Republic.
Yeah.
That way they know what to expect. We've had a couple, Republic had a couple instances where people are putting out in their garbage. They just won't take it.
Right.
So you have to get on their website, what they will take. And here's the thing, if you have something you want to give away for, put it in the rear of your yard or side yard, not out on the front on the sidewalk. People will come and get it if they want to come and get it.
Right.
Discourage people from putting stuff out on the sidewalk, but free, just
It looks bad.
looks bad.
With the Republic contract coming up, one of the issues that I know Public Works always runs, when we have a windstorm and people are putting out their trash with no lids on it, that stuff just goes all over the place. Maybe with the next contract, we can work it out with Republic to get everybody to get the
Toters.
closed
We've
totes.
talked about that.
That's what we talked about it internally.
Cool.
We did think something didn't change dramatically, the amount of trash.
Well, and a lot of landlords require the tenants to bring their own, which
Right.
is a problem because they're expensive.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the toters are $100 a pop at Lowe's. Somebody moves out, they take one with them and things like that. And landlords are like, I'm spending this money, but you have to have a can with lid.
Right.
Um,
Well, it
Yeah.
also makes it easier for them because they can put it on the hook.
They prefer worker comp things
Right.
way down.
I'm glad that's in discussion. Thank you.
Sure.
Angie, would you like to please take a stand?
So rental inspection, gave you a comparison last year, time and right now. It issued 29 last year in the first 5 months. We issued if you look at the amount collected, it's weird at the numbers, but that's based on, permits, based off of units. So some of these units have 5 units, one, some are an apartment complex. So that's why the numbers are basically the dollar amount is really close. We are missing Manhattan Harbor's money right now. And they're a big one. They're like $10,000. So we are working on that. So we should, but we have sent out citations, not been compliant. I've been waiving them all this month, giving everybody a chance to get compliant. It's only our second year, but I have warned everyone, this is their last grace period year. April 15th next year, they will be cited and there will be no waiver. Their responsibility to know when their bills are due. So, I also,
Put it on the website or on Facebook? Like what you just said?
nope,
Why?
all the landlords come in, if I've, anybody that's had a citation, personally.
Okay.
So I've made them very aware. They get a reminder in February. If they are late by April 15th, they get another reminder. That's, so up till now, most people have been really good. Your regular people that have been paying all these years aren't the problem. People that have been relaxed anyway. And a lot of the citations last year got another citation this year. So that's poor planning on your part, not lack of communication as far as. So we've been very clear and like I said, generous this year. I didn't even send out I didn't even send out notices again till April 30th. So they had 15 extra days. And then I gave them an extra 15 to comply without any citation. So they had days and still people didn't follow through. So we have had people that had permits, had family members living in their unit. So a few of those people changed, 4 of them transferred the property to family members that opt out. 17 sold out of those, 26 that went inactive, 1 went into foreclosure, 1 decided to register it as a vacant property. And then we had 2 owners move into their actual property that they were renting. Any questions?
Nice work.
So hopefully next year it looks better. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Angie. All right, moving right along, we're gonna go ahead and, the fire department. Chief Atkins, how are you this evening?
I'm good, sir. I'll make this short and sweet. You all have my report. Not a whole lot extra to add to that. We are hiring for 1 opening right now. Working on the budget with the cities. We did put our fireboat in service, so it's now on the river for any responses you might have. And I did end the first meeting, regional meeting for the call stacks that are coming up next October.
That's so cool.
It's going to be a big ordeal. So yeah, there's a lot to that. So just our first kind of get to know or sense of what's going to be, and a lot more. It's next October.
Next year.
Yes. So
It's not tall stacks.
right. It's a changed the name. I forgot the name of it,
But
but
it's the same idea.
yeah, it's basically the same thing.
That's so cool.
So yeah, so we had our first meeting, regional meeting. So really all I have,
How's everything ready for the parade? You doing all right?
sir.
Anything from us?
Oh, sir.
All right, well, we appreciate all you do. Any
You all.
questions for the chief?
It's all gonna be like that.
Thank you, sir.
Just history.
History.
Stick around. All right. Since we're on the topic of first responders, Chief Hatfield, would you please approach?
I don't have too much to add. You all have my report for the month. The only change that's going to be coming up is the curfew. So curfew Memorial Day changes. So kids are getting out for the summer. It's going to be 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. Sunday through Thursday, which we'll post on our Facebook page. Make sure we'll get with Jared, put it on the city website too. 12 a.m. to 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. Anybody under the age of 18 is not to be out on the streets during those times.
Lights come on, you gotta come home. That was my rules.
That's the way it should be. That's all I have to add for this month. So it's been pretty busy since the temperature's been getting warm. A lot more people out and a lot more calls out there. So, any questions?
For Chief Hatfield. Well, thank you for your going.
We do have a non-emergency dispatch number. It's 292-3622. I think that's on our website. So it's not emergency, so you don't feel bothered calling 911. You can call the non-emergency dispatch number. We have, yeah, we're here 24/7. Even Christmas, all holidays, birthdays, you name it, we're here. So welcome. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. I wouldn't say the best for last because I don't want to think more of anybody than another. But Mr. Lucas, I know you've got a really, really busy week. So would you please approach and address council?
We're doing all right on the parade route. Keeping up with some of the grass right now. But I gave everybody an email I received from the Corps of Engineers today.
Yeah, great. That was great, man.
Yeah, that was nice.
Well, let's let everybody at home know what it says. So we got an email from Andrew Books, who's a levy safety coordinator for the Department Corps of Engineers. And he basically says they want to use Dayton in our levy system as an example at a presentation by the Corps to the National Association of Flood and Stormwater Management Agencies. This is going to be on June 13th. And the reason they want to use Dayton is we were selected because of the good relationship it has with the Corps, how well you maintain the levy, and that it's currently accredited by FEMA. So, Rick, that's a tribute to you and your crew. And I'll tell you, I've worked with the Corps of Engineers for many years, both here in Covington. They're not an easy group to appease. So this is amazing.
You and Mike Yeager.
Right.
How many meetings? Fun. That's great.
Well deserved.
Excellent work.
We'll stay on the parade route till it's done and still working.
Excellent. And, Saturday morning, I saw Rick and Council Lady Lovins putting up the veterans flags on the poles.
Did hang a few of them.
Yeah, and they look great, man. They look
Yep.
really, really good. I'm getting so many compliments from the families that are saying thank you for our recognition of their family service. The avenue looks great. Yeah, so excellent work to you, your crew, and all the volunteers. Appreciate you, man.
All right, thanks.
All right, get to work now. You only got a week left. Mr. Fawcett, it's time for your city's administrator's report.
Well, the hour's late, and I know we have some residents who want to speak, so I'll just defer my report to our next meeting.
Thank you.
Oh, man. All right, that's fine.
Thank you very much.
We'll go ahead and close out the city administrator's report, which opens up the floor for anybody from the city's audience who would like to address city council and administration. I won't even make you state your name again. You already did, Mr. Crummins.
409.
What's the address?
409. 409.
409? Cool. And what is your concern, sir?
All right, well, lately, been getting warnings for parking on the sidewalk. And been talking about that earlier already with sidewalk management. Ooh, next year, we might be able to get that grant, get it fixed. But been getting warnings for citation for being on the sidewalk. Sidewalk. Parking as you're supposed to park, right against the curb, not 8 foot on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
Now, it's getting hard to get through the street. My Honda Civic is 7 feet wide, truck across the street, 8 foot wide. I want to talk to our house, truck is 9 feet. That leaves, not great at math, but not very much room for our truck. That's assuming they're parked directly right against the curb.
Yeah.
We're off, what's the allowance room from the curb? No, it's but
Yeah, I'm looking at your house, right? Is it your gray Honda Civic?
yeah,
Cool. Yeah, I see what you're dealing with, and right here, Alex. So, that's Matthew's car. You can see he doesn't have a driveway like this house does. That's a concern. Same with these folks. So we've been talking. There's been a lot of conversations about this at City Hall. Well, not just today, but the last few weeks. We spoke with Chief Atkins, and he's taken the big rig up, the ladder truck, and he's.
Chief, we have the photographs. You want to talk about it?
Yeah.
Can you put them up on the? Jared, you got them over there?
So we up there today with the fire truck name of the ladder truck. Our biggest piece of equipment. It is tight. We were able to get through it. Slow going. We back up there at 97 because they come back at night. So we went back up there and Cap Schaefer sent a picture. There's not much difference now, traffic wise. You know, and it's like Mr. Fawcett said, these streets are still, there's just not a lot of space, and we know. So this is looking down towards Terrace, and looking down towards. Go ahead, sir. And you can see it's tight. So you know we're not getting in any hurry coming up through there. Just not a whole lot of wiggle room. So when our drivers make sure the vision, they can figure it out.
So on those pictures, nobody's on the sidewalk.
I don't think anybody's actually on the sidewalk there.
They're there.
So, okay, but this is not you, because this is actually on Dayton Avenue. This is making the turn onto Dayton Avenue from, yes. So this is right below,
Some grass.
Mhm.
So this is actually another issue that we have.
And that was a problem making that turn.
Yes, we had to actually back up and make the turn.
Even if they were on the sidewalk, it would be tough there. So we might have to put a no parking sign there for your benefit.
So, I mean, it's just one of those things that, you know, there's streets. This is looking back down on Dayton, looking back down toward. So they were not making that turn. They had to back up and kind of,
What? They could not make that turn?
they could not make that, had to back up and kind of,
Well, Rick is gonna make that a no parking, right? Yeah, but where that car is right now, he was.
well, and there's some places that are yellow, and people. And again, these are small cities, and we know training and just getting out in our city, we know there are certain streets that we have a hard time navigating. 100 block of 400 block of 4. We know that we're not on that street unless we have. In Bellevue, we know that depending on where it is, we may either come down the wrong way, or if it's low end or high end, block of 4. We know low end, going to go down high end. We'll hike up. We may park on any or Paris and then pack our stuff. If it's bleeding or burning, we're going to get there.
Mhm.
You know, we just know some of these streets are tight and have to figure out how to navigate that. You know, if we start turning the corner and we sit blowing out the window, we're taking. That's just the reality.
So here's the other issue that we have to consider as well. The reason we're here is that we had someone issued a complaint on our on-site code enforcement complaint form, and they were handicapped individual in wheelchairs, so they were unable to use the sidewalks. Jared, look at the one photo you had up before, the blue car parked there, on the sidewalk. Right there. So if you can't see that maybe, but there's a fence right there. So if you're on that sidewalk there, you would literally have to go out into the street to get there. Now, if you're a handicapped person or a mother with a baby in a stroller or even children walking to school, that's not a good situation. So here's the issue. There's a thing called the Americans with Disability Act, and it requires that sidewalks be accessible to handicapped and disabled individuals. In 2003, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled that the ADA applied to sidewalks. The decision was Barton versus Sacramento, and it requires cities to make public sidewalks accessible to the disabled. A few years later in LA, Los Angeles, there was a case involving this very issue. The city allowed people to park their cars on sidewalks and also the aprons to driveways. They ended up losing that case and ended up having to spend $1.3 million to make improvements to address the issue. So we understand your all's issue. That's a very tight street. ADA requires you to have 36 inches of space for people to walk on sidewalks. The question is there a way to find a medium? Is there a way we can allow parking up the other sidewalks long enough, wide enough to allow some parking, but not to infringe upon the ADA requirements? The sidewalks down by the old corner store down there at Urban, they're really big. You can do it there, but as you go up the hill, they get smaller.
That's tight.
So, are there other opportunities? Can you allow people to park in front of their driveways? Currently, you're not allowed to park in the driveway, but if you own that house, what would it hurt to allow you to park in that driveway? So, city staff have been talking a lot about this because it's an issue. Obviously, we understand your issue. I also understand the issues of people who want to use the sidewalks to walk. So we have to balance both of those. So we're gonna bring our traffic engineer, Mike Yeager, to come look at it, talk about it. Is the traffic the right way? Should part of it be one way? Do we allow it? So there's a lot of things we can look at and talk about. But right now, we're not at a stage where we can make any decisions or make any recommendations to city council. But it's something we definitely need to look at because it's not only a problem here, and if we do it here, in other neighborhoods are going to want it too. So that's an issue to think about as well. So give us some time. We understand the issue, and I know you want to talk, but just give us some time and let's put something together. We didn't issue any tickets. We just did a warning because our concern is we have people that can't use the sidewalks, and we allow people to get parked there, then we can get sued. In that case, LA was a class action, and a number of people sued. And the big thing is not only did they have to pay money, make improvements, they had to pay the attorney's fees too, which were very expensive. So for a city our size, LA, that's probably a drop in the bucket. For us, that's a third of our budget.
We're talking about how good the budget is this year. Throw in there a $2 million lawsuit, and all of a sudden we can't afford firemen.
Like I said, we are aware. We just know, we know the city. Yeah, I know the city.
So, three issues. It's be able to get a fire safety equipment up there, the ability of people not to get their cars sit on the streets, and the ability of people to be able to walk on the sidewalk. We have to figure out how to resolve all three of those issues if we can.
So Chief Atkins, you're saying that if they do not park on the sidewalk, you can get through, but it's.
Thing that make it work. That is what you also choose. Obviously,
I don't
obviously more room is better for us.
Yeah.
But also, we improvise, we adapt, we overcome. That's what we do. And again, it's not the first time, probably the last time. Very well. Hey, have you get this? Fortunately, because again, these tight streets.
When we purchased that vehicle, the ladder truck, wasn't it like they looked like a European style? Because over there they have like really tight streets and.
I was not a part of the discussion. Purchase. I cannot say that. If there was any discussion about the ladder truck we had previously had a like there, we knew there were places we could take it. Wasn't.
Yeah.
Truck will get us in the city. Turning has a small turning radius, tighter turns. However, you still have my little high school, Billy Physics has, can't fit. 11-foot by truck and making it.
Good physics class you took. All right.
We'll make several more trips out there now. That's the next question. I didn't hear
that's
you.
cheap.
How much
clearance do you have parked from the curb? How much leeway do you have for your tires parked through that curb?
How much? I'm not sure. Let's look at the ordinance or ordinances. I can look at that and tell you.
Basically, with their full-size truck is as much as they can be out. That creates, well, we already,
And then we have these new trucks that are just really big.
Right.
That are taking up space, a lot more space than the Model T did. you know?
right.
Yeah, your F-250 that everybody wants.
Yes. And that goes to the sidewalk thing now. Sidewalk is broken up. Part.
Being on it.
Park there. But that same sidewalk, street, safer to walk the sidewalk right there with
I don't know
broken
about
piece of
that.
front.
I don't think I want kids walking down the street.
Oh, no, I agree. I'm saying.
Yeah, twist an ankle, yeah.
As far as.
Okay, right.
Imagine someone being able to go up that hill in a wheelchair. That just,
I don't know if they were going up
No,
or down it. That's just what they said.
Right,
And I
right.
share- we can share a copy of the.
Oh,
we can
yeah, I've
post
seen it.
online,
They've- right.
But, I mean. when
Yeah, I
you get a
understand it.
complaint like that, we have to take it seriously.
Of course.
Potential legal
Oh,
consequences.
yeah, of course.
They take those wheelchairs everywhere.
Man, we would have known that Paralympian.
Well, they have powered wheelchairs.
Right,
I was
right.
gonna say, they're
Even,
powered and they
even
go
them, they're,
everywhere.
I had somebody ride one across a cornfield to come talk to me.
You go up Dayton Pike.
right. Pat Delaney. Right.
Yeah.
In the fourth spot, his side of the street.
That was an executive order
That's
sign.
an ordinance, and it's a executive order, which we have a copy of.
Yeah.
From about 20-something years ago.
Yeah,
That allowed them right
1999.
down there by the old store, because of able to get fire trucks in there. They said we found it. It took us a while to find it. The clerk found it. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
And it says,
Bobby Craigman. Good guy.
says that, because the 400 block of 10th Avenue is so narrow on the turn and cause problems getting emergency equipment, fire trucks, snow removal, et cetera, through the 500 block, the following shall occur. All yellow lines on 10th Avenue presently are in the parking in front of 400, 402, and 404 10th be allowed on the curb sidewalk so emergency equipment can get above and onto 10th Avenue. So three units were allowed to, three properties were allowed to have parking in front of them. But remember, that's also where the sidewalk is really wide by that old store. So there was plenty of room for them to get on that sidewalk. A lot of those sidewalks are not nearly that wide.
That was also 1999 when a lot of different things were, ADA wasn't much a thing and lawsuits weren't such a thing.
Right.
It was a simpler time back in 99.
So that order is still in effect. It's not been repealed. So technically, that order is still in effect on those three properties, but no other properties on the street can do that.
So they can park on the sidewalk in front of the store.
And those three properties can. 702,
Okay.
704, 706. But that's the only ones the order allows that to be done.
Certain times, man.
Hey,
So,
yeah,
yeah.
so I guess the thought moving forward is, this is a conversation. We're not issuing tickets. We're not towing cars. We're covering our bases. We're not calling you bad people or nothing. And I hope you're not saying the same about us. And we'll work through this together, right?
Best thing about a small town that can come here, talk, and
Yeah, like Colleen said, she wants to start showing up here and seeing that, yeah, we're here to make the things happen.
coming for your job.
Well, next time we'll have water for everybody. I think we ran out this week.
But that was all.
Appreciate you, Matthew.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
The floor is still open for anybody who'd like to address city council, administration, myself, anyone. All right, well, that's going to lead us to a close here. Wait, no, it doesn't. I'm sorry. This is Joe Neary's favorite time. Does anybody have any new business they would like to discuss?
I'll bring it up 2 weeks from now. I got a couple of
Thank you
things.
so much.
All right. There's other council people out there. Anybody else? Any old business? Don't forget Monday's our proudest day of the year, the Memorial Day Parade. Thank for everybody for voting today. It's an important civic pride. I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make
Ladies first. Member
I'll
Neiman's
make
made
that
it.
motion.
Do I have a second? Second. Member Volter. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any against? I didn't think so. So have a good evening.